Yo, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of The Sauce. Coming off a not so great Thursday night. I lost the Packers, obviously, as you saw. I lost SMU too. Actually, NBA was green. The NHL had a good night too, but of course, I didn't tail the NHL and it went like 6-2 or something. But overall, not a good night for me personally. But we're putting it in the past and moving on to college football Saturday. Let's travel up north to the Big Ten. If you asked me a month ago, is this game going to be a significant matchup in the Big Ten West standings? I would have been like, hell no. But here we are. Iowa versus Minnesota tied for the lead in the Big Ten West. Let's go.
Welcome to The Sauce. The Sauce. Sauce. Hey, get the sauce.
All right, Hawkeyes on the road at Minnesota. The line is Gophers -2.5. Early public is pretty even, but every single sharp in the world who bet early was on the Hawkeyes. 99% of the money on Iowa as of Monday morning. Line bounces back and forth a little bit between 2.5 and 3. Nothing significant there. Still looking at the same thing. Public is still on Minnesota. Sharps are still on Iowa. So let's cap this game. If you subscribe to this channel, you already know the first step. We're running the numbers through the spreadsheet. According to the model, the line for this game should be Minnesota plus 1.3. So that's a 3.5, 4-point lean on the Iowa Hawkeyes. All right, so like I said, a month ago, both of these teams were looking awful, looking completely out of it. Both now come into this game on 3-game winning streaks. So before I break down anything, let's take a look at the Big Ten West standings. This is crazy. With just 2 games remaining in the regular season, 5 out of the 7 Big Ten West teams are still alive to win the Big Ten West and play in the Big Ten Championship. Obviously, you got to think Purdue's in the driver's seat because not only do they own the tiebreaker, but the remaining 2 games are against Indiana and Northwestern. So theoretically, Purdue should win out and go play Ohio State or Michigan in the Big Ten Championship. But both Iowa and Minnesota right in the hunt. How about a brief matchup history? Iowa has owned Minnesota as of late. The Hawkeyes have beat the Gophers 7 straight times. In fact, head coach PJ Fleck has never beaten the Iowa Hawkeyes during his tenure at Minnesota. All right, so let's break down the matchup. Like I said, both teams on 3-game winning streaks, but it's pretty clear that Iowa's 3-game winning streak is a bit more impressive, just from the quality of opponents. It pains me to say that, because I'm on record, I'm on YouTube, I think 2 separate occasions, kind of shitting on Spencer Petras a little bit, and now here he is playing efficient football, throwing the ball with efficiency, and not turning it over. He's protecting the football too, like pretty much proving everything I said wrong. Ready for some Spencer Petras numbers? Check this out. Through the first 7 games of the season, Petras was completing just 53% of his passes, 2 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Since then, in the last 3 games, 63% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. And that 0 interceptions, that's the key number when you play quarterback for Iowa, because Iowa's always built similarly. You know the offensive line's going to be loaded. Not so much this year, but it's still solid. Usually they have a solid offensive line. And you know the defense is going to be savage, and it definitely fits the mold this year. Basically, your job as the quarterback for the Iowa Hawkeyes is just don't go out there and lose the game. And that's what Spencer Petras has been doing, well, up until 3 weeks ago. The reason I'm saying the Hawkeyes' 3-game winning streak is more impressive than Minnesota isn't just because of Spencer Petras, though. I'm talking about the quality of opponents here. First, Iowa goes on the road and completely scrapes Purdue. Then they follow that up by beating Wisconsin handedly. Those are 2 solid Big Ten West wins back-to-back. Minnesota has certainly looked good in this 3-game win streak, but those wins came against Rutgers, Nebraska, Northwestern. Probably the 3 worst teams in the entire Big Ten. I mean, maybe you can throw Indiana in there. Yeah, 3 wins is 3 wins. Minnesota deserves credit, but all 3 of those games were against teams that Minnesota should have beaten comfortably. Let's talk about the Minnesota offense and talk about an offense that's tough to read right now. I like Tanner Morgan, but I mean, let's call it what it is. In the Nebraska game, Minnesota goes into halftime down 10-0. Tanner Morgan gets hurt right before the half. Kaliak Manis comes in and takes over, freshman at quarterback, leads Minnesota on a comeback 20-13 win, I think the final score was. So who's starting at quarterback? I mean, Tanner Morgan, I believe that was his 2nd concussion in like 6 weeks. So I would imagine he's not going to play, but he's been the starting quarterback at Minnesota for 5 years. This is senior day of his last home game as a Minnesota Gopher. If there was ever a game that he's going to suit up and play for, it's this one. But like I said, from what I'm reading, it looks like Kaliakmanis is going to get the start, the freshman. We've seen glimpses of him this season. Like I said, that comeback against Nebraska was cool. He also started the Northwestern game where Minnesota won by like 28 points or whatever. But the thing is, he only dropped back to pass 13 times in that entire game. Do you really trust this freshman Kaliakmanis to make plays through the air on this Iowa defense, the number 2 ranked defense in the entire country, number 2 to only Georgia? It goes Georgia, Iowa. Look, I don't trust Spencer Petras to go out there and make plays against Minnesota's defense either, but Minnesota's defense doesn't even come close to comparing to Iowa's defense. And at least Petras, who's looked good for the last 3 weeks, and he's a veteran quarterback. I mean, Kaliakmanis, this is what, his second career start? There's no way I can bet a freshman quarterback against this Hawkeye defense. It is that good, which is why I'm taking Iowa here as dogs. I think the Sharps have it right. Give me Iowa plus 2.5. Let's lock it in. Go Hawkeyes. If anything changes with this bet, I'll let you know on Twitter, so give me a follow there if you're interested. Also, if you want the final tickets that I do, that we do for every sport, but it's the bet of the day, top 7 bets, parlays of the day, that kind of stuff, head over to KyleKirms.com or download the Sauce Network app. College football Saturday, week 12, getting close to the conference championships now. Things are getting really interesting. Let's be smart and reel in some units. Let's have a great day. I'll talk to you on Twitter.